If you're looking for more horror outside of the mainstream, look no further than Unsung Horrors, a podcast about underseen horror movies. I'm Lance.
And I'm Erica. Every other week, we'll cover a horror movie with fewer than 1,000 views on Letterboxd. We'll even give you double feature recommendations to pair with the movies we discuss.
From gothic to shot on video, from slashers to comedies, from giallo to J-horror, we'll cover all the subgenres. So join us as we unearth these hidden gems of horror.
Follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, all at Unsung Horrors, available wherever you listen to podcasts. And part of the Someone's Favorite Productions podcast network.
Hello, this is Aaron West. I am the author of the A24 New Wave. In this book, I look at A24's output and I make the argument that we are in a new wave movement right now. A24 plays a major role. This book has a supplemental podcast where each episode is a brief conversation about an A24 related topic, whether an actor, director, or even a genre. As I continue research for the book and conduct interviews, I expect to record podcast episodes with people involved with the company. You can find the podcast at cinejourneys.com or wherever you find podcasts, and we are proud to be members of the Someone's Favorite Productions podcast network.
Hello, my name is Kevin Tudor, and I'm one of the three hosts of Almost Major, a film podcast dissecting many major indie studios and the films they release. Every week, myself, Charlie Nash, and Bryden Doyle discuss overlooked, forgotten, or bona fide classic indie films via studio-specific miniseries. We've previously covered numerous films from Artisan Entertainment, Lionsgate Films, and New Line Cinema. Titles including The Blair Witch Project, American Psycho, Dogville, But I'm a Cheerleader, Saw, Requiem for a Dream, and Ringmaster, you know, the Jerry Springer film. Anyways, we have a fun time every week and we hope you will join us. Subscribe to Almost Major wherever you get your podcasts. Now proudly a part of the Someone's Favorite Productions podcast network.
We're in Way Media.
Welcome to the Life and Times of Captain Barney Miller podcast. I'm your host, Mike White. Joining me, of course, is the rookie, Mr. Chris Dashew.
Mike, I have an idea for you. You, me, a couple Weirding Way Media people. Let's start a Tontine. Are you in?
Of course I'm in. And we get to explain what a Tontine is to people that are listening tonight. I thought it was a Jewish thing, but apparently it's a French thing.
It's got a great name, Tontine.
Those French have a different word for everything. Tonight, we are talking about 3 episodes of the original Barney Miller show. We are in season 8. We're talking about episodes 7, 8, and 9. Homeless, which originally aired December 17th, 1981. Yes, it's a Christmas episode. The Tontine, which aired January 7th, 1982. And Examination Day, which aired originally January 14th, 1982. Chris, what did you think of Homeless?
I feel like we've seen this before. I feel like we've seen this in the episode where the folks were being displaced by similar reasons, like people being displaced by a building. You remember? And it was, I think, a Hispanic characters, like overwhelmingly like Hispanic characters in that episode. And there was like a Hispanic woman, I think, even.
Oh, yeah. She was a firebrand. That was one of the few times we left the precinct. Might be one of the last times that we left the precinct. Yeah, when Barney went down there, was fending off people that were trying to take over that house. It almost would have been nice had we had the return of them, because it's a similar situation. But this episode, December 17th, 1981. Yes, it's a Christmas episode. It starts with a Christmas tree, ends with that. It's a lot of goodwill towards men. But I swear all the stuff they're talking about here with kicking people out of their places and the price of real estate and all this is the perfect storm that helped bring about the rise of people like Donald Trump.
Mike White, I'm so disappointed. You're invoking my name, and now I'm here. I think it's funny, I see where you're coming from, obviously, and not to be, apolitical or whatever. I think my feelings on a lot of this are quite well known. I'm not doing a Donald Trump impersonation because I like the guy. Let's put it that way. It's funny. It felt a lot more prescient than something from 1981 should, given, people being kicked out of their houses, being homeless, being kicked out and just, oh, well, we have no way to fix it. We'll just take you to the Catskills. You got to get there yourself, though. It's like, oh my Christ almighty, like this, it feels too on the nose. And again, like to your point, obviously we're talking about New York City. We're talking about people being kicked out of housing, which, like you said, objectively Donald Trump did in the 80s. So not us like searching for things to drag someone for. This is stuff that he did objectively. This is not an unknown fact or piece of information. People know this. I know this. Anyone who does a cursory Google search can figure this out. So, you want to get upset about facts being used. We're not fact checking here, apparently. No, we are. I think it's interesting to me, ultimately, that this episode has the homeless are here in the precinct. They don't know what to do. We have everybody at odds with one another. And ultimately, it kind of goes nowhere. I mean, we get a couple good bits at the end where we have this kind of closing scene where everyone's saying goodnight to each other, but it feels so not this show. It feels like another kind of show. And I'm not saying it's not funny. I think it does work, but this episode feels like there's too much going on, but maybe it's not even a going on thing as much as there's just too many characters in this episode. There are a lot of characters in this episode. I mean, we've got Don Calfa, Stanley Brock, Mary Gorman, David Clennon, Ben Piazza, and then the rest of the people, including Levin. Like, there's a lot going on in this episode, and it feels like too much all at once, and it doesn't feel, again, I don't think this episode's that creative because we've seen these bits and pieces before, maybe not put together like this, but I mean, Jesus Christ, we've seen Stanley Brock in this show before. We've seen plenty of these things or people in this show before, and it's like, this episode's fine. I don't know. I think some of the other episodes we're going to talk about are much better than this one. This is not the better of the three, that's for sure. What did you think?
I actually really liked it a lot. A lot of it felt familiar, but I think it was the idea of seeing these very familiar faces. I don't know, to your point, I don't know if we needed the B story with the whole thing about the greeting card company salesman who gets fired by getting a pink slip inside of a sympathy card from Santa Claus. It's great seeing Ben Piazza as his boss. And Ben Piazza, we've talked about him before. He's been on this show before, but for those who may not remember, he is the father of the family in the Blues Brothers at Chez Paul. They smell bad. Like, I love him. He is so snotty, but he really doesn't get his comeuppance in this episode. Like, something bad should happen to him rather than to the guy who gets fired. And it doesn't resolve itself very well at all. Kind of like the way that the other story with all of the homeless people doesn't resolve itself. Again, great to see Don Calfa. Great to see Walter Yanovitz. Great to see David Clennon. And Clennon gets a lot of screen time in this one, especially when he and Barney are talking in Barney's office. And he starts talking about, living in Connecticut and how his house is falling apart and all this. I was like, okay, this is kind of good. Like, he's so concerned about himself. He doesn't care about anybody. And that's kind of the situation at hand. Like, we're not showing any sort of sympathy. And I like that Stanley Brock kind of comes around, though it feels very insincere. And really, I was kind of hoping that he'd be like, you know what? My store is going to be closed during the holidays. Why doesn't everybody come over and stay at my store or something? Because that's the inciting incident, is that he finds Don Calfa sleeping in his store. Don Calfa is kind of slow in this episode and holds a job as a dishwasher. Maybe one of these days he'll be moved up to busboy. But fucking Stanley Brock as Bruno Bender using a cattle prod to torture Don Calfa, that gets laughed off so much. And for Marie Gorman as Naomi Bender, his wife, she is in physical fear, and we got the laugh track just cackling away.
Thank
That
you.
felt very uncomfortable.
The laugh track in all three of these episodes is pretty uncomfortable. There are several moments throughout these 3 episodes that we're going to be talking about that have weird laugh track moments where I was like, what? I mean, again, we have had an episode of this show titled Rape. So, and there was a laugh track in that episode. So I'm not saying like, oh, I couldn't expect that this show would do that. Like, no, we've already seen it do it way more than I ever would have imagined a show like this would do it, frankly, or any show would do it. But again, like different times, different place, different expectations. Yeah, a woman being in physical fear of her husband and like him like swatting at her and her like moving back, exaggeratedly so at some points. Like Mary Gorman's acting is at times she's really doing it up, as I would say. But yeah, what the fuck is up with the laugh track in this episode? I mean, physical violence towards women is just the height of comedy, as we all know. I mean, obviously, I don't think I've ever laughed at something so hard in my entire life as a woman being beaten, obviously. Like, it's just, the optics of it are a bit strange.
Yeah. And this is, I think, she's been on the show several times before.
Yep.
But she seems to be much more, she's like really playing it up in this episode. Okay, apparently she'll be back in Landmark Part 3, which will cap off everything. She was in, 4 episodes of season 4 between Bugs, Wojo's Problem, Hostage, and Evaluation. I want to say, wasn't Hostage another Don Calfa? Yes, it was another Don Calfa episode. She was one of those replacement cops that was sitting at Nick's desk, detectives sitting at Nick's desk.
Gotcha.
And I think she might have been the one who thought everybody was hitting on her. But yeah, something odd with that one too.
That sounds about right.
Yeah, I usually like her. She has a small part in Taking a Pelham 1, 2, 3. I like her voice. So much of these character actors, it's so much about the voice for me. And when he starts lunging at her, because he lunges at her and so does the greeting card guy too. And it's like, oh my gosh, guys.
Yeah, I mean, again, physical abuse towards women is funny.
Yeah. I should say he doesn't lunge at her. He lunges at his boss. And again, I was kind of hoping for more comeuppance for this guy.
Yeah, that was the part of the episode I actually really didn't understand is Ben Piazza's character just getting away with it. Just like hook, line, and sinker being an asshole all the way to the end. Like no comeuppance at all. None. Zero. He just walks in and walks out.
Even with Brock, like he ends up walking out with his wife. She pays for him to get out. He drops the charges against Don Calfa's character. Don Calfa has this former heroin addict and part-time prostitute that he's kind of enamored with. They invite her as well to go over for Christmas dinner. But yet there should have been a moment where Dietrich or somebody, and I just immediately think of Dietrich, comes over with the cattle prod and is like, you're not getting this back, or we're checking this into evidence or something, and some sort of better ending for Brock. Like he still is a dickhead at the end of this episode. Even though he's doing the right thing here, I feel like he will do the wrong thing 1,000 times.
I agree. No, I 100% agree. This is an episode where we have two kind of asshole characters both getting away with it.
Yeah, which really, I guess that's the way of the world, right? 1981, the assholes are starting to win.
Well, they haven't stopped winning yet, Mike. They haven't stopped winning yet.
I'm going to get so tired of winning all the time.
All we're doing is winning all the time. We haven't stopped winning ever since 1981.
So moving on, let's talk about the Tontine, which I was completely unfamiliar with this term. So a Tontine is it's basically like it's not a pyramid scheme, but it's like a life insurance policy. It's kind of like I believe Wikipedia described it as a mortality lottery, because it keeps going until the last member is alive, and then the last member basically wins the pot. It's almost like an actual winning chain letter. Like, obviously those are scams. And this seemed like it could be a scam. Apparently there was a whole thing in March 2017 where Tontines were coming back, but there was a long time where they were restricted here in the United States. But it sounds like it's, like I said before, a French thing coming over to us.
I would do a Tontine in a heartbeat. I don't know. It's an interesting idea. I mean, look, ultimately, it's just like you said. It is just the lottery, right? I don't know. If you want to be the guy who's alive at the end, I guess you get a whole lot of money to spend. All right, sure, why not? I don't know.
Apparently $700,000.
Yeah, good God, which in 1982, the New Year's episode, we're a week into the New Year's and we're talking about Tontines and people trying to kill themselves.
Yeah, this is an interesting one. So we've got a couple storylines going on here. We've got the main storyline of the Tontine, which has our old friend Ivor Francis and then Ian Wolfe, who I know has been on this show before. He's such a great old guy actor. He's been old, gosh, like I remember him in being in Alfred Hitchcock's Saboteur back in 1942. He wasn't quite old then, but after that, forget about it. Like, he's the old man in THX 1138. He's incredibly old in Dick Tracy. He's old in almost everything else. And he plays an old guy like nobody's business. He's fantastic at it. Just keep going. And then oh man, the guy who's taking care of the Tontine, Jay Robinson, who I mostly know as being Dr. Shrinker from the old, what do they call those guys? The, not Rankin and Bass, Sid and Marty Krofft. They had a TV show called Dr. Shrinker, and he's amazing. He's like the living embodiment of like Pontius Pilate or somebody. He would be amazing. And I think he's played Caligula. That's what it was. But yeah, he played Caligula in both The Robe and Demetrius and the Gladiators, which was the sequel, but it feels like he could play Pontius Pilate so well.
And he was on Chopper, the Kolchak episode we talked about many moons ago.
So long ago. Yeah, he's great. He's got that great voice again, and he does a laugh, especially as Dr. Shrinker, like nobody's business. And yeah, he's great. He's so, just distasteful, and you just want to like get yourself away from this guy. And I just love how smug he is about all this and like, oh, sorry, we can't do anything now. And then when Ian ends up having a heart attack, it's like, oh, looks like we're good now. And I'm like, oh my God, like not now. Like, this is the worst time to be you.
He's a real dickhead, but to your point, he's great. He was on the show once before, all the way back in season 2 in The Sniper, which feels like, God, I mean, good Lord. I don't even remember that episode in the season 2 of this show. My God. What a long time ago, huh? He's great. He's great. I actually think that the Tontine might be up there for me in terms of the more interesting plot lines that the show has kind of trotted out, because it feels pretty unique from everything else that we've seen. And again, to your point, it would seem that in the early 80s, as a couple years ago, Tontines were becoming a thing that people knew about, if not were interested in doing. So, I think it's interesting and topical. I don't know how well it works for a lot of people, but for me, I think it works pretty well.
This episode has a small appearance by one of my favorite character actors, Sam Ingraffia, who I actually got to interview a long time ago. Well, not that long, but a few years ago for Welcome Home, Brother Charles, where he played a cop. In this, he plays an ambulance attendant taking care of one of the old guys that has the heart attack. He also is in season 5 as an ambulance attendant. So apparently that's his role on Barney Miller. I'm not sure if he's supposed to be the same ambulance attendant, but I have a feeling he is.
Hey, and don't forget, because we just talked about him on Midnight Viewing, a podcast that you and I do with our dear friend Father Malone, Lou Cattell is in this episode.
Yes.
Yeah, I was like, oh, it's that guy from that
himself.
Terrible episode of Tales from the Dark Side. God.
He does such a great job in this, though. Though we didn't say in the last episode, Levitt is in plain clothes. And I was just like, oh, looks like Levitt got a promotion. Okay, this is amazing. But is he back in uniform in this one? He's definitely back in uniform in one of these episodes.
It's this one.
Okay, and he's talking about like, hey, how about I get back into plain clothes again? This goes back to, I think it was the last episode of season 7 with that whole heroic act that he did, and he's trying to get this medal. I didn't think that Levitt was. I mean, it feels kind of like the venal Levitt has come back, where it's like, hey, I want this attention. I want to be in plain clothes. I want. And he wants this medal or whatever it is. And Barney's like, yeah, there's not enough witnesses for this. So he goes out and rounds up the witnesses, including, to your point, Lou Cattell, as Mr. Rosselli, and he seems to be a couple. Well, I think all 3 of the witnesses that he brings in are a couple loads short of a full deck here.
Yeah, but Lou Cattell's the best one, just because, again, he kind of redeems himself from when we saw him in Tales from the Dark Side.
Yeah, it is so nice to see him. But what the fuck are they doing? Like hanging out in Barney's office, he comes in and his chair is taken apart?
Well, they broke his chair, I guess, is what happened. I don't understand, and that's just the way the episode ends. It's like, the hell?
Yeah. Oh, by the way, when we were talking about the end of the previous episode, the whole Christmas thing with the good nights that are going on, because everybody's stuck there, they're snowed in at the precinct. We don't get a 2-parter overnight episode like we did when they were hiding from the plague. But I don't know if you're aware, and please, I'm not trying to talk down to you, but that's a homage to the Waltons. I don't know if you watch that show.
That's what I figured. I mean, Goodnight John Boy and all that. Yeah.
I wasn't
That's
sure
what I
if that was still
figured.
popular
Yeah.
culture.
Oh, totally. 2024. John Boy is in the popular culture. Yep. I just loved him in it
Thanks
so
to
much.
the nice guys.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. I did realize that's what it was, and I do, again, obviously it's going to work a lot better in 81 than it would now, but
We're talking a lot about the guest stars in these episodes, which is just pretty typical, but I like that it was Wojo in the previous episode that called David Clennon, and that Barney's trying to wrap that package, and he's, Wojo, put your finger here so you can tie the bow and everything, and Wojo just keeps talking. It's like, all right, who'd you call?
yeah, I actually really like Wojo in these episodes, especially this one. It's, again, we're back to Wojo giving a shit, which I appreciate.
I do really like that. Yeah. And Harris, I'm not sure, man. I don't like this whole thing of him calling Levitt Little Levitt. I'm just like, come on, guys.
Harris feels kind of sidelined, no? In a lot of this. It feels like we got a lot of Harris in the last 2 seasons, and now they're just like, we don't know what to do with the guy.
Right.
Right?
Well, they make the mention. Yeah. They make the mention in Plainclothes about him directing traffic in the literary district, basically. And he's like, I might get noticed. I might get seen. And I love how Dietrich's like, oh, you got writer's block, but you better get over it, basically, so you can write some tickets. I was like, oh man, that's pretty cold, Dietrich. That's pretty cold.
Yeah, but to your point, that's really, in terms of Harris, like that's really all we get other than the last episode where he interacts with Luger. Like I don't know, it's kind of a shame to me that Harris is so, I don't know, it feels like his storyline ended already. And now he's just part of the group writing to the end of the line. Do you know what I mean? Like, it feels like we already got the conclusion to his story, big time.
Yeah. I mean, I liked his little opening speech in that Christmas episode where he's talking about those Hessian soldiers and, all the craftsmanship. I mean, he fucking Ron Glass can just deliver solid every single time. And that whole monologue that he has, and just watching Ron Carey's face as he's reacting to all of these things and getting more and more upset that his package is pretty darn small for little Levitt. But then, just the care that Ron Glass, that Harris gives to that description, I just thought that was wonderful.
Yeah, no, I love Harris and how, I mean, he still continues to be up his own ass, which I appreciate. He's still that guy, even after he's been smacked down by kind of existence and the way the world is now. Kind of really, I mean, again, his storyline does not have a happy ending. Like, he got screwed, like, big time. I mean, this is a thing that happened over the course of like 3 or 4 seasons, and then we just have him offhand getting sued, and that's it. Like, I'm kind of disappointed. It doesn't seem like they have any idea what to do with his character anymore.
Yeah, I know. It feels like a real shame. And to your point, yeah, it feels like he's just here for the ride now. And they even make mention of it in examination days where they talk about, because here we are, we're back in uniform. We had the whole uniform days thing. And everybody at the beginning of the episode is like, well, where's Harris? What's going on with him? Some bad stuff's been going on with Harris. He lost that lawsuit. He lost his ability to write. I mean, that's huge.
Yeah, he's just kind of a shell of a character now, and it's a shame. I mean, we have him doing the right thing here in the face of Luger being a complete degenerate piece of shit. God. Holy moly. But, you know, I mean, does that make up for the way that they've treated his character this entire season? I don't really think so, me personally.
No, I don't think so either. It does feel like they have slated him. I mean, we've talked in the past about how this show could be, you know, even though it's called Barney Miller, it could be Wojo's show. But for a little bit, it felt like it was Harris's show.
Totally.
And really, even with Dietrich, it feels like they've kind of sidelined him right now because he just comes in occasionally and does a couple jokes. They're good jokes. They land almost every single one, but it's like, all right, you know, he's just there for, well, the nick of it all, just to add those little zingers as we go along. And it's like, no, I want to know a little bit more about Dietrich, other than he sleeps in the nude.
Wow. That's a visual image I needed.
Steve Landisberg in the Raw.
Yeah, oh boy, raw dog in it. The bareback files of Steve Landisberg. I don't dislike Examination Day. I actually think of the 3 episodes, it's the most interesting because we actually have Barney and Luger going at it, and, like, you know, not something we've seen a whole lot of. Barney really holding Luger accountable for being a shithead. So I appreciated that. I think outside of that, I don't think the episode really ever gets going otherwise. Like, the Jack Crucian stuff with Lyman Ward is fine, but I think that the stuff with Hal Linden and James Gregory are much more interesting. Like, Luger and Barney is a much more interesting story than some butcher who didn't buy kosher meat or was sold kosher meat by accident, or not kosher meat by accident, I guess.
Yeah. He was sold trafe by accident. Yeah. And that whole thing of Lyman Ward playing the newsman, I like the little mention of Geraldo Rivera. And I laughed, of course, because he says, like, nobody ever assaulted Geraldo Rivera. And yes, they did. But that was a few years later. It was kind of that Morton Downey Jr. questionable, how real was this Geraldo type of thing, when you started to realize that Geraldo was actually just all smoke and mirrors. Even after the he still had a little bit of cachet after the embarrassing thing that happened with Al Capone's vaults, and then it was, you know, it took a few more years for him to completely go off the deep end and just lose all credibility.
Al Capone's vaults. Man, talk about a thing people my age probably have no idea what you're talking about. I do, but I would think most people my age have no idea what you're talking about when you mention Al Capone's vaults. Yeah.
The TV event of the century, and my God, did he get egg on his face.
There was nothing in those vaults, right?
Some bathtub gin. That was it.
Did you know that he sold bathtub gin?
I know. Crazy, right? That a famous bootlegger?
Yeah. Whoa. Yeah, it doesn't really go anywhere. And I appreciate that they're trying to kind of traffic in the real world by, you know, name dropping Geraldo, but Lyman Ward's character never really gets there to the level of that. Like, if he were more obnoxious and grating, maybe I would understand, but he's just not given enough to do. I mean, realistically, I think there should have been more Levitt in this episode, and there should have been more of Barney and Luger and Wojciechowicz as well. Like, it was just, I don't know. They don't spend enough time on the story that's interesting. And the story that's interesting is genuinely interesting. Like, I think it's one of the better episodes with character conflict in it that actually feels genuine as opposed to kind of forced. Like, this this conflict makes sense because of the way that we know Luger is as a character. And instead of giving us more of that, like they did with the Harris incident, where that took up almost the entire episode, this is just kind of like, it's not that big of a deal. It's like, no, it is a big deal. And you should have spent more time on it as opposed to, again, like a fake Geraldo, Morton Downey, Jerry Springer type character, which again could have worked. They just didn't go far enough with it.
Well, it was, talk about real life, the whole idea of police abusing power. I really wanted there to be more like Luger feeling betrayed by Harris, like who told you, Barney, and then having more conflict with Harris. And also the idea of this Warren Chappelle character played by Louis Giambalvo, who will never get over Macho Grande. He just becomes this like obsequious puppy dog where it's like, anything you want, I can help, I can do this. And that's because he was fucking abused by a cop.
Yeah, it's wild to me.
Laugh track.
I know. That's the so thank you for mentioning the thing I was about to say. That's the laugh track in this episode. That's horrifying. It's like, ha 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 ha, he's gonna wash Luger's car for him. Why? Because he's worried he's gonna get his head blown off? Like, hilarious. I don't understand what's so funny here.
I don't know if you've ever been threatened by a cop, but I have. Like, first run-in I ever had with a cop was an accident I had when I was 16, auto accident. Basically was told, like, hey, we can take you out and beat the shit out of you, and it's going to be your word against ours. That's not a real good way to do community outreach. And that's what James Gregory was doing in this episode, this whole idea of the abuse of power. And it's the same thing that's going on here in 2024. So again, here we are talking about the real estate market in 2 episodes ago, and here we still have police brutality. And all these years later, talking about, I don't want to say prescience, but just tapping into what was going on and still going on.
And don't forget, the name of the episode is Examination Day, which I think works in terms of, being kind of a double play on the name, right? Because the whole thing with Luger and Barney feels like a little bit of an examination of their friendship because Barney really has to put his foot down. So hardcore on Luger because Luger's gone completely off the rails.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and Luger thinks everything's fine. He puts on this uniform. He starts thinking about those old days of Brownie and them. And yeah, I really appreciate. I don't like that Barney makes up with him at the end of this episode. It feels like water has gone under the bridge. Maybe there's still more to talk about, but I like Barney's little thing about how, you come down the hardest on the people you love the most. But still, man, you should not forgive and forget this. For me, this is grounds for dismissal. This is when you get your retirement, Inspector.
Yeah, it's weird that they're kind of throwing Luger under the bus in the last season of the show. I mean, similarly to what they did, in my opinion, to Harris. Like, why are we doing this? Like, there's not enough time left to have this conversation. If you wanted to do this, you should have done this 4 seasons ago and factored this into his growth as a character. And I get why they didn't. And look, different times, different folks, different strokes, different ways of doing things. I get it. However, feels like a missed opportunity, and it feels forced here. Just like the stuff with Harris not really landing, the stuff with Barney and Luger feels forced. It's good, but it does feel forced, and I don't like what they did with Luger's character, period, any more than you did, clearly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a real shame. And we talked about the uniform thing before. They're in uniform because it is, as you said, examination day, which seems odd because they didn't do this those times that Wojo was going up for his sergeant's exam, but I guess it's like a mass sergeant's exam happening. And I did like when Wojo's complaining about it and they say, well, we did the same thing for you when you took your exam 3 times. So that was a nice callback too.
An actual callback, yeah. Good on the show.
Yeah. I do appreciate now that we seem to be fully we are doing references to older episodes now. And that's kind of teeing us up for Landmark.
I feel like, yeah, I mean, it's weird. We do have the show building on itself more than I expected. And at the end of the show, when we get to Landmark, I'll be curious how much of their paying off is actually done. Because, yeah, to your point, like, we are seeing stuff paying off finally. Stuff that was set up a while ago is having a bit of a payoff. So
yeah, but yet some of the things that we wish would pay off a little bit more are kind of being brushed under the rug. Like, I would love for Harris to, finally get that movie version of Blood on the Badge, or finally be able to write a sequel to it or something like that. Because I want more for Harris. I really love that character.
Same. He feels sidelined. He feels underappreciated, and feels like, oh, well, someone else ended his story, so we're good now. And I hope that changes before the end of the show. That's my big hope, is because Ron Glass is, it's a shame he passed away before we did this show, because he would have been just like Hal Linden and Max Gale and Steve Landisberg, for that matter, and Ron Carey and Jack Sue. Like, I would have loved to have talked to all of them, but Ron Glass is up there in kind of rarefied air with Hal Linden and Max Gale, frankly. I mean, they're the three that have been here this whole time. Like, and that's, other than, I guess, James Gregory, but he's also long gone. So, it's a shame, because Ron Glass's character, like you said, for as much time as they gave him in the last season, all of a sudden it's like, they might as well have just written him out of the show completely. Like, at this point, I think I would have actually liked that more if they had a reason for him to not be around, as opposed to kind of kneecapping his character completely. We get it. He can't write anymore. Like, whatever. It's a big deal, but he's still a cop. Like, this really shouldn't be getting in the way of him being a cop, because that was kind of also the point of the him being an author, was he was able to still do both. And now if he's not able to do both, it doesn't feel like the story ultimately went anywhere.
Yeah. Ron Glass would have been a real classy guy to talk to. And plus, he had been in so many things. I mean, so many things we've even talked about. I mean, his episode of The Twilight Zone is still one of my favorites of that whole series.
Yeah, same. I mean, we talk about it almost every time we bring up an episode with a devil character. So yeah, no, it's a shame. It is a shame, but it's fine. I think we'll probably, hopefully, be singing a little bit of a different tune by the time we get to the end, but who knows? We'll see.
Yeah. Well, and I know with you being a brown coat and everything, you would have loved to talk to him about Firefly, so I'm sorry.
Take my land, take my sea, you can't take the sky from me. Burn the land and burn the sea. Yep. You can take the sky from me. Yeah, it's so awful. Josh, I don't know. Ugh.
I don't know which is worse, the theme song for that or the one for Enterprise. They are both wretched.
It's been a long road getting from there to here. I love that song. It's been a long time, Mike, but my time is finally here. I can feel my dreams come alive again. I can touch the sky. You mean Star Trek's theme song, dude, wasn't good enough for you? It needed lyrics?
Oh, God. Well, yeah, Gene Roddenberry wrote lyrics so he could collect royalties for both the music and the lyrics, which they never sang except for like weird award shows. Like when Lauren Green would come out and sing the theme song to Bonanza, and you're like, that had lyrics? Sure enough.
It's that Bill Murray doing Star Wars thing, right?
Star Wars, yeah. I prefer his Close Encounters theme myself.
Yeah, boy, gotta love it.
Well, Chris, when we come back next month, we are going to be covering 4 episodes, but don't worry, one of them's a 2-parter. We're going to be talking about The Clown, Chinatown Part 1 and 2, which I guess kind of fits in. I mean, I always picture them being Lower West Side, and I want to say Chinatown's, I guess that kind of works. Anyway, and then Hunger Strike. So we're going to be talking about Eddie Vedder and Chris Cornell and their whole Temple of the Dog project that they did. So that will be very interesting. I'm not sure how they're going to work those 2 guys in there.
I'm excited. I mean, who doesn't love Eddie Vedder, huh?
I'm going hungry.
Oh, I'm going hungry. Yeah, I love that song. My dog sing that at the table. My dog sings that song to me every night. He's like, I'm going hungry. I'm like, you're not going hungry. Stop singing that song to me. It's better than them singing Spoon Man, I guess.
I hope my singing ends up on the cutting room floor, but I have a feeling it's. Oh, we should do karaoke one of these days, Chris. It'll be a fun time.
I think I have a good singing voice, and I think you have a good singing voice, Mike. We just aren't using them seriously. We're literally singing the theme songs from TV shows that aren't good. There's no amount of good singing that I can do to save the Enterprise theme song, okay? I could be Luciano Pavarotti, and I couldn't save that thing, all right?
I was told once that I'm not a singer, I'm a vocal stylist.
Oh,
Yeah.
she packed my bags last night at pre-flight, 0 hour, 9 a.m. And I'm going to be high as a kite. All right, that's the way you're a vocal stylist. Okay, I see. I understand now. All right. That's just a nice way of saying you sound like the guy from Cake.
Yeah. I'll never get over Macho Grande. Anyway, until we come back, Chris, what are you working on these days, sir?
I am working on audio diversions over at weirdingwaymedia.com, where I spend most of, if not all of my time creating audio content for people to listen to, including the Culture Cast, this show that you and I do together, Columbo, Midnight Viewing, which we are co-hosts on, a whole host of things. And you can find them all at weirdingwaymedia.com. But to help some of us out, patreon.com/culturecast, Projection Booth, 80s TV Ladies, Father Malone, places you can go to support the people that make the content that you listen to. So that's where you can go to help us out. And hey, like, rate, and review everything you listen to on iTunes. Because you know what? Everybody deserves a little love, not just us. What about you, Mike White?
Ditto.
That's all, folks.
Thanks to John Walker for our theme song. Thanks to everybody for listening. We appreciate you as we wrap up this 8th season of Barney Miller. It has been quite a journey. We're going to be looking back as we go forward. I guess that's one thing you can do. It's kind of like checking the rear view, backing up out of the driveway. So it'll be a lot of fun. Definitely come back next month. Thank you so much for listening.
Hey, this is Jason Kleberg from the Force 5 podcast, a show that forces a guest to come up with a movie-themed top 5 list topic, and then we reveal our picks on air. Top 5 heist films, top 5 tearjerkers, top 5 movie dogs. Every show you'll be asking yourself, what would be on my list? Guests include directors, screenwriters, actors, podcasters, musicians, authors, and even a professional wrestler. Subscribe to the Force 5 podcast, and you won't just be a listener, you'll be a list nerd. The Force 5 podcast, available wherever you're listening now.
The audio commentary. It's a dying art form, but here at One Track Mind, I, your wonky yet affable host Ryan Luis Rodriguez, analyze film through the prism of these embryonic forms of podcasting, one audio commentary at a time. Masterpieces, crapster pieces, live action, animation, cult classics, films literally no one has ever heard of. No track is too small and no track is too big. Join me and my guests from the entertainment world as we keep these features alive every other Tuesday. Hey, who else is going to discuss Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey one week and Citizen Kane the next? Us, that's who. Sure, you have to put up with my voice, but there's a certain give and take in this industry. That's One Track Mind, part of the Someone's Favorite Productions family, and available wherever you get your podcasts.
Hello and welcome to Tumbleweeds and TV Cowboys. My name is Hunter. In this podcast, I'll be joined by a different guest each week to discuss a classic Western movie or TV show. I've been a fan of classic Westerns for as long as I can remember, and in recent years, they've become very nostalgic for me. I love the aesthetic, the tropes, and I love seeing different filmmakers' takes on them. At their best, they're incredibly entertaining, rewatchable, and some of my all-time favorite movies are Westerns. We'll mostly focus on Western movies made in Hollywood, but we'll also be covering spaghetti Westerns, and one thing I'm very excited to get into are Western TV shows. I've got some amazing guests coming on the show, film professors, historians, and podcasters. And Tumbleweeds and TV Cowboys is part of the Someone's Favorite Productions podcast network, and many guests on the show will be from other shows on the network. Thanks for listening.